let's move on to our other lesson. So first, we dealt with the linking words, the advanced vocabulary. Now we're going to deal with some grammar. And more specifically, we're going to deal with more advanced passive forms. Until now, the previous years, we've dealt with the simple forms of the passive voice. Okay, let's see first of all, what are these passive forms? Well, yesterday I came home after finishing some things that I had to do, and I saw that the vase wasn't in the correct place. There was something wrong with that. And I started thinking, who might have broken this vase? I didn't know who did that. So I said, well, someone broke the vase. I didn't know. That's why I simply say somebody. Somebody did this thing. This is in the past simple, as we can see. And this is in the active form. So somebody did this action. In order for this action to be changed into the passive form, as we can see, we have some changes. Together, we're going to see the basic forms, and very quickly, because you have already dealt with that in the previous classes. So, in the passive form, as we can see, the focus is not on the person that did the action. So, maybe we don't know, maybe we don't care, or simply our interest is to see the action itself and not the person that did it. Let's see the changes that we have from the active form to the passive one. Please follow me and let's see those steps together. First of all, we have the object. Somebody broke the vase. So the object, that was the vase, is turned into the subject. This is what comes first. Then we put the verb to be. Why was? Because our sentence in the active was in the past simple. So the second step for you is to put the verb to be in the past. So the vase was. Then we see that our verb has been the verb break. The third step is to put the verb break in the past participle. So the vase was broken. And if we had the name of the person that did this action, then we would put by whom. As we can see, we put it in brackets by somebody because we don't know who did this action. So I want you to think throughout the lesson that we have those 4 steps for you to follow. First, we put from the object becomes the subject. Then we put the verb to be in the same tense that was the active. The third thing is to put our main verb in the past participle. And then the last thing to be done is to put the agent. So by whom was that action done? Let's move on, please. And now let's go and practice all the theory that we just saw. Always keep in mind those steps that you said. So we're going to change the object into a subject, then put the verb to be in the same tense, that was the active, and finally the past participle. Don't forget those steps. The sentence given is, the children ate the cake. What are we going to do? First thing, take the object and make it a subject. So, the cake, put the verb to be in the same tense. It's a past simple. So we're going to say was. And what is our main verb? It's it. So in the past participle, eaten. So the cake was eaten by whom? By the children. Let's move on to another example. I will clean the house on Saturday. Find the object, please. What will I clean? I'll clean the house. So the object will become a subject. So the house, let's see what tense is it here. It is a future tense. So the house will be. And our main verb, clean in the past participle, will be cleaned. We can state by me, or maybe not, on Saturday. These are the simple forms of the passive. But now we're going to deal with some more advanced ones because the level, of course, is higher. So we're going to deal with the passive forms with the modal structures. What are the modal structures? Can you think of some? May, must, should, will, can, could. Let's be more specific. We have a sentence that says, everyone must complete the project until tomorrow. As we can see, it is in the active and it says everyone. So it's not something specific, let's say. In order for us to change it now into the passive, we're going to follow the same steps that we mentioned in the beginning. So first, let's find the object. What is the object? The project. This is how it's going to start. So the project, the modal verb must, in order to be put into the passive. So must be. This is how it's going to be, always. The modal and be, because we're talking about the present now. So must be, and our verb is complete in the past participle completed. So the project must be completed until tomorrow. Another example. The students may now use their mobile phones. Can you please find the object? What is it? Mobile phones. Yes, this is how it's going to start. So mobile phones, here it is the modal verb that we have. In the present, it's going to be may be. So mobile phones may now be, and our verb is used in the past participle, may now be used. By whom? By the students. Here, the agent is stated because we have the students. Whereas in the first sentence, we don't say by everyone. It's not necessary. You can write it down or not. So we saw the present. Don't forget, modal plus be. Let's continue with the past. In the past, we're going to see a different structure. So, they should have cancelled the competition. Well, what can we see here? That our verb is have, so the modal should, plus have, plus past participle. This is in the active. Let's go to the passive. In the passive, we start with the object that becomes a subject. So the competition, we continue with the modal form, should. But it is now in the past. So it's going to be should have, and our verb be. So should have been, and the past participle cancelled. We don't say by them because it's not necessary. What we are interested in is the action that the competition should have been cancelled, and not by whom. We don't really care about that. Let's continue. Someone may have removed her email account. What is the object? Her email account. So let's make it a subject. And what do we see? We have in the past, may have removed. The modal verb plus have plus past participle. In the passive form now, her email account may have been, because we are in the passive form. We need the verb to be in the passive form. and the past participle of the main verb removed. Again, we don't say by someone because we don't really care about who did that. We care about the fact that her account may have been removed. All right, let's continue. We dealt with the modal verbs, and now we need to practice a little bit these modal verbs. Let's see the first sentence. You can buy absolutely anything on the internet these days. The point of the exercise is for you to start with the expression that is underlined and to be very careful that we need to use the modal verb, the verb to be in the present or the past, and the past participle as a continuation of the sentence. So, how are we going to start? Absolutely anything. Then the modal verb can be, plus be of course, and our verb, our main verb, buy, that becomes in the past participle bought. So absolutely anything can be bought on the internet these days. Number 2, they should have given Albert Einstein a Nobel Prize for his theory of relativity, of course. So let's start with Albert Einstein. Modal verb in the past, as we can see. So, Albert Einstein should have been, here it is, the verb to be, given. As you can see, it is the same. So it is very easy for you to make from the active, to change from the active to the passive when it is in the past, because you simply add been in the middle. The rest remains the same. And number 3, architects may have designed Bill Gates' house on an Apple computer. We start with the expression underlined, Bill Gates' house, and as we can see, we have the same structure. It's in the past with the second one. So, may, have, are we going to add anything? Yes, of course, we need to add the verb to be. So, Bill Gates' house may have been, this is the verb to be, modal and be in the past, plus past participle of the main verb, that is designed. Well done. So we finished with the modal verbs. Now we're going to continue with some specific verbs that take 2 objects. There are many verbs of that. Let's see an example for you to understand. The students gave the teacher the project. We have the verb, gave, it's in the active of course, and we have got 2 objects. The teacher, that is the direct object, and the project, that is the indirect project. Someone would say, but I've got 2, how am I going to start now? Well, there is no problem with that. You can start either with a direct project or with an indirect project. Both of them are correct. But the structure changes a little bit. Let's see together. Let's start with the first one, the teacher. So the teacher, then the steps are the same. We put the verb to be in the past, as we said, so was, and our verb, that is give, of course, in the past participle, given the project by the students. So the teacher was given what? The project. By whom? By the students. We can also start, we said, with the second object. So the project. Do you think that the verb is going to change? No, absolutely not. It cannot change. It is going to be the same. So the project was given to whom? Was given to the teacher by the students. So as you can see, the verbs remain the same. We can put either the direct or the indirect object that now has become a subject, And of course, we have a change in the structure. And let's see one more. I want you to do that, please. And let's check together. The manager has promised Mark a promotion. So we have the direct object, Mark, and the indirect object, a promotion. Okay, let's start with the first one. I want you to keep a note and I want you to check with me. So, Mark, the verb is in the present perfect, so we need to put the verb to be in the same tense. So, Mark has been, and our past participle, promised. What has Mark been promised? He has been promised a promotion by the manager, that is, the agent, of course. Or, how can we start differently? We can start with the second object. So, a promotion. Again, the verb is going to be the same, absolutely, but we change the structure. So, a promotion has been promised to whom? To Mark, of course, by the manager. So, we can see that verbs that take two objects have, let's say, the same, it's the same idea, but the structure in those two might change a little bit. Now that we finished with the modal verbs, let's continue with the passive, infinitive, and ing forms. Specific verbs take specific structures. So, some verbs are followed by ing forms and others are followed by infinitive forms. There are specific verbs like can't stand, don't mind, get tired of, hate, interested in, that take ing form. In the passive, it is exactly the same. So these verbs are going to be followed by the verb being now, because we're talking about the passive. So let's see an example. Well, the teacher can't stand being interrupted. It is in the passive. The expression is can't stand and is followed by an ing form. So the verb to be is going to be in an ing form. So the teacher can't stand being interrupted. An example for you to do, I want you to do it yourselves, please. I am tired of. This expression takes ing, we said. So, I am tired of what? Being, and our verb in the past participle, of being criticized. Let's move on with the verbs that take to infinitive. So these verbs take to infinitive. Which are those? I can't afford, choose, decide, prefer, pretend, I would like to do something. It is the same in the passive. So these verbs are going to be followed by to. So in the passive, to be. Let's see together. All the people hope to be cured from this virus. The verb is hope. The verb hope takes to infinitive. So it's going to be to be. So the people hope to be and our verb in the past participle. Please, I want you to do this yourselves. Everyone wants. You need to put the verb tell. So the verb want takes to infinitive. So put the verb be into a to infinitive form. Everyone wants to be told, of course, the truth. Want plus to infinitive plus past participle. Perfect. Let's move on. And now we're going to see some other sentences, some other exercises. Write the sentences using the passive infinitive or the ing form. This is something very interesting for you, so I know that you're going to like it. So let's see what most teenagers do. I know that you'll find yourselves here. So, most teenagers don't enjoy. This expression takes ing or a to infinitive form. It takes an ing form, of course. So most teenagers don't enjoy being shouted at. Let's move on. Most teenagers can't stand and ignore. The expression "can stand" takes an ing form. So most teenagers can't stand being ignored. Isn't that true? Absolutely. The third one, would prefer, not criticize. Would prefer takes what? A to infinitive form. So it's going to be done, most teenagers would prefer not to be, and our verb in the past participle, criticized. The other one, get tired of and judge. The expression get tired of takes an ing form. So it's going to be done, most teenagers get tired of being, of course, judged in the past participle. And the other one, most teenagers just want love. So the verb want takes a to infinitive. I know that you are going to love this sentence. So most teenagers just want to be loved like everyone else in this life. All right, let's continue. And what we have now is the final thing that we have. The final thing are the impersonal passive structures. So we talked about the general passive form, we talked about modal verbs, we talked about ing and to infinitives, and the verbs that take two objects. The last thing that we're going to see today are the impersonal passive structures. There are some specific verbs that you might see in magazines, in newspapers, that try to give a more impersonal, let's say, feeling. So it's not that they state something that they believe personal, but it's something generally believed. These verbs might be the verbs agree, believe, claim, consider, know, expect, report. Let's see some examples for you to understand. Well, we have, people claim that optimists live longer. You are not going to find such a sentence in a newspaper, for example, because newspapers or magazines want from you to believe that it is something general. So we make it an impersonal structure, and we start with it. This is how it's made impersonal. It plus the verb to be in the present, because this is in the present, and the past participle of the verb claim. So, it is claimed that who? Optimists live longer. Or we can say it in another way. We can start by the object, optimists, and put it as a subject. So optimists, now it is in plural, are claimed to live longer. As you can see, this is impersonal. This isn't a person's specific opinion, but is in general. Let's see one more example. We're given the sentence, the press previously reported that the company's profit had reached 100 million pounds. This is the sentence, and we want to change it into the passive. We want to make it more impersonal. So we're going to start with the object, of course. That is the company's profit. It's in the past, so was. It was previously reported to have reached 100 million pounds. So as you saw, we have so many different structures in the passive. Make sure that you practice all of them. And now we have reached your homework. Since I know that you like the exercise with teenagers, I would like you to use the passive infinitive and the ing forms, and I would like you to talk about teenagers. So what they enjoy, what they can't stand, what they prefer, what they are interested in nowadays. And then you can communicate with your friends and you can exchange ideas. Make sure that you practice a lot and take care.